Hello, dear. It's good to see a familiar face. Thank you for doing that, dear.
Her smile is weary. Her earlier ebullience has left her.
Morel still isn't feeling well. I convinced him to stay at Gary's to get some rest. I'm afraid the cold has really gotten to him. Yes. Field work is a young person's game, as they say.
Her voice is shaky. What is going on here?
Morel will eventually, or we'll talk Gary into going back out, perhaps.
The lieutenant stares at his shoe, caked in mud. He doesn't say anything.
That really is too much, sweetie. Thank you for your dedication, but I can see you're coming down with a cough yourself.
Very strange. Why is she not letting you do this? It's like she's given up.
Different? How? I'm not. It's not that. It's a strange feeling. I haven't really told this to anyone, but you are a police officer. Do you ever wonder if some lovely story from your childhood is just that? A story or a dream?
Hunching her shoulders now. She seems even smaller than she is, like a sad young girl.
Seeing the Insulindian phasmid was just a story I used to tell people. I didn't really think about whether it was real or not. Morel's so proud of it. He always tells everyone.
A terrible sting in the heart. Regret.
No, sweetie. There's more to it than that. Morel was so eager to believe my story was evidence of the phasmid's existence. That I'm some queen of the cryptozoologists. That. And for years, his belief made me believe too. But now, we're both getting old, and he's still working himself sick out in those reeds looking for it. But what if I was just wrong? I think I was.
The lieutenant opens his notebook, but doesn't write anything. An acorn is not the same as the tree. That requires time, diligence, and care.
But it is. We've spent years searching for the phasmid, hunting it together. Without it, what are we? Just another pathetic old couple. If I hadn't led him down this path, he could have a steady job lecturing at a university.
You know, this reminds you of the Pericanassian theory of love. In essence, love is a relay out of death. Generation by generation, our love remains in our progeny. Lay some of that on her.
Oh, of course it counts for something. But we've had our hard times too. I was a paraplegic before we met. He didn't know before I arrived, on our first date. If I weren't the queen of the cryptozoologists, if I didn't tell him that story,
She has to swallow to relax her throat. It's keeping her from talking.
maybe. But then why do I not dare tell him? I've wasted enough of your time with this drama. I really must stop talking about it lest I start crying and waste more of your time. What you have to know is the Insulindian phasmid probably does not exist. Let us fools chase our ghosts. There are a million better things to do with your life.
Are there? Some of the other things are pretty bad.
A true believer. Sometimes I still see it too. The real memory of it, how it was there. Not the memory of the memory, but it's so hard to tell the two apart.
Rising, unfolding from the reeds on a hot summer's day, like a benevolent god.
Either way, I should go. Poor Morel is running a fever, and I need to get him home to Jamrock before we overstay our welcome with Gary. Oh no, thank you, but I can get there on my own. This old thing is gas-powered. And then a taxi home. It's not so bad. Oh no, thank you, but I can get there on...
Really?
Oh, sweetie. Please don't get stuck on a dream. Take it from me and Morel. Okay, it's 1113 Tabernacle Road. Jamrock, but...
A sigh. She doesn't think you'll need it.
You too, sweetie. Thank you for everything, truly. Even though it turned out to be a
waste of time. A dream. A fool's hope, say her lips moving in silence. Like that, she drives off. The gas engine putters quietly as she gets to the doors, then pushes them open. Outside, the cold coastal wind blows.
We should go too.
Yes? What is it? That was pretty good, Harry. Wasn't it, Jean?
Whoa, how does she know your name? She probably heard it from somewhere. You have to be more careful, karaoke star. Names are dangerous.
That was absolute shit, if you want my opinion. Drunken shit. Haven't wanted anything to end this badly since I had cluster headaches. Horrible. Truly horrible. I beg of you, don't ever subject anyone to this torture again. I mean, seriously, you need to...
Jean, it's not right. Don't make it worse, and I really liked it.
She actually did.
Yes, I called you by your name. What about it?
She doesn't reply, but her eyes are still sad.
Yes? Wonderful. What is your takeaway? I can't stop a grown man from learning about the fundamental geographic and anthropogenic features of our world, can I?
Perhaps I should have tried, he thinks. Perhaps I was overprotective, is what's insinuated.
In Elysium, behind our eyes, like all human beings, detective, the world is what it is. I'm glad to see you're stable. Keep it that way. Now, was there anything else, or should we get to it? What do you want to know? You mean like a brief? Do you want me to brief you? There's no reason to wing anything. If you didn't get the brief, that's okay. I did. 3 days ago, the RCM Emergencies Desk received a report about a security guard who was found hanged in Martinez. An anonymous caller said there was a dead body behind the Whirling in Rags hostel cafeteria. The cadaver had been there for 4 days. No one had come to investigate. During that time, the victim had been stripped of his belongings. The caller did not identify him, but used the word lynching. There is an ongoing labor dispute between the local dock workers and the logistics company Wild Pines. I was told we should approach the death as part of this dispute. They didn't identify themselves in any way. The tone was muffled using a device of some sort. The desk could identify neither the caller's age nor sex. There's a strong prejudice against involving the RCM in what's seen as union matters. The dock workers' union is the de facto police in Martinez. Now it appears they've started executing too. We cannot allow that. Just to be clear, we are police officers. It's our job to find the killer. That's the case. Uncover and arrest the killer. No, it's not a particularly mysterious case. The deceased is a security guard for a corporation involved in a labor dispute. It doesn't take a DeLorean polymath to put the pieces together. I just don't see the case getting more mysterious than that. There was some interest in this case at my station, but not for the reasons you have in mind. You seem to wish there was Yes, it just so happens there's a beautiful blonde 19-year-old woman at the heart of this case. A rich one, in fact, part of a murder sex cult.
The weary tone is the surest indicator that the lieutenant is being sarcastic.
No, not really. Was there anything else?
It can still be an otherworldly sex mystery in your head, with a dark twist even.
I'm afraid you and I are pawns in a pissing competition.
His disdain is clear. This man would not use such an expression otherwise.
You don't know? I assumed you were in on it. Better still than an imbecilic cop-off. It's just stupidity. The cop kind. Our precincts can't decide if Martinez is part of Jamrock or the Industrial Harbor. Yours or mine, as if we somehow own parts of the city. Typical street gang mentality. So we've let the Union make a mockery of law enforcement here, and now it's come to its natural conclusion. Well, sort of. It's less a matter of who gets to police Martinez than who has to. It's an orphan district, in other words. I think the dispatch desk just told both our stations about the hanging. There was quite the brouhaha at the 57th, I can tell you that. Time to settle it, they said. Cop off. But I assure you, I am not their finest or toughest with 102 cases solved. What I am is least interested in a pissing competition.
So he volunteered to represent the 57th, but not out of competitiveness. On the contrary. Somewhere in your mind hangs a dark green blackboard. There are two columns. One says, cases solved. The other, confirmed kills. The rows are endless. Jean Vicmer, Judith Minot, a special consultant. What was his name? Then the rows degrade into green nothingness. Your brothers have left you.
Yes. I'm an unrepentant spoilsport. Well, technically, the official record keeper has been known to double count murder-suicides.
A common accounting gimmick used to inflate precinct stats.
I'm good enough for this case. I'm not here to compete. I came because I had to. My fellow officers, the sergeants in particular, would have made this scene into a circus. Martinez? Nothing. It's just a puddle at the end of some drain pipe. No one cares about this place. They care about sports. Most of our colleagues don't even know how to get here. North of the interchange doesn't exist.
A tremble comes over you. Another after effect of ethanol poisoning, perhaps. Feels like leaves do when they rustle in the breeze, somewhere far away, below the turbine. The 41st and the 57th. The lieutenant was right. It's not about who gets what's north. It's about who doesn't. It's all part of the master plan, you see. He opens one hand and looks at it. A moment passes.
Which school do you subscribe to? Mambo or Jambo? Mental illness. So, the 41st Precinct sent you because you are the most mentally ill out of all the officers at your station? Of course. Yes, it's a wholly pointless matter. Forget I ever mentioned it.
No response. He just arches his brow. He's having trouble processing it, believing it even. A moment passes. The lieutenant glances at the sports watch on his wrist.
Me? I don't see how my life is pertinent to the investigation. That's a fair point. All right, for the good of the investigation, what do you want to know? That's correct.
You feel a slight urge to put the lieutenant down for this, but you can't quite muster enough testosterone.
Are they? They are mostly just cumbersome. What? This? It's just seasonal clothing. Where is this going? Interesting. I think it's called the brain.
It's no mere brain.
Okay, art cup. I do not harbor a sentiment for revolutionary air brigades in particular. Okay, I wanted to become an aerostatic pilot. Then I turned 10 and realized we no longer have an air force. Good. That's because I'm half Seolite, or quarter. My father's father was from Seoul. So was my grandmother, but from my mother's side. It's not an interesting topic. It's a part of the world, officer. A geopolitical entity and a geographic division. I told you it wouldn't be interesting.
Seoul is a protectionist, isolationist, pan-Isolari state west of the Insulindian Isola. Actually, it's quite interesting. Some would even say mysterious.
You're barking up the wrong tree. I don't speak a word of Seolite. I've never met either one of my grandparents, and I've never been to Seoul. I'm a regular Revacholière.
A point of pride to him. He's glad to have shut down your question.
No.
Your brain sends the signal to your lips, but they refuse the order. Something is paralyzing them. You're pretty sure it has something to do with the lieutenant's eyebrow. It's like you're locked down.
Something the matter, detective?
What's going on? It's like you're a puppet in his hands. The lieutenant relaxes his eyebrow, and you seem to regain control of yourself.
What do you mean? I have no idea what you're talking about.
The lieutenant's conceptualization skills must be rather rudimentary. The lieutenant is a police officer of the old school. His concerns are material and extrinsic. But this isn't an old school case.
What? Think? I do most of my work inside my notebook.
The lieutenant produces his familiar mnemotechnique A6 and idly thumbs through a few pages. That's where his conversations with himself take place. We all have our different mediums. His is written.
Good. Let's change the subject. Excuse me? You have a distinctive way of walking. If I were to walk in front of you, we would surely collide. I hope you don't take this the wrong way. It's just a collegial observation. In the 57th, we call it the Jamrock Shuffle. Officers from Jamrock's 41st Precinct tend to move a bit erratically. They say it's a scene-clearing technique developed by one of your lieutenants for gathering evidence. It's erratic, yet thorough. Prioritizes containers.
Yes, but containers contain things, shiny things. They're interesting.
I don't know. Containers contain, I guess. I'm making assumptions. We should move on.
Passing along frivolous interdepartmental stereotypes is not usually his oeuvre. He regrets bringing it up. Look at you. It's because you're a failure. They sent you to slight Precinct 57. Just think about it for a second. You're a raging alcoholic who showed up 3 days late and argues with his necktie. You weren't sent here to win.
I've considered it. It would be immensely ugly of them, not to mention unprofessional, but I also think it's somewhat unlikely. I checked the records. This jurisdiction dispute, who polices Martinez, reaches back to the 30s. It's as old as my station. And all this time we can't decide who gets Martinez? I think, yes, both stations would prefer a win. Safe? No. But you're old. You've made it this far. Something has brought you through. We've only just started working together, so I don't know what it is yet. But it's there. So no, I don't think they sent you as a joke. And even if they did, they are in for a surprise.
The front of this quarterly journal features a large satirical portrait of the late King Friesel. From the sides of his head, a pair of white antlers spread to the corners of the cover. Because Friesel was incompetent, foolish, and cruel. In short, the embodiment of everything the communards wished to overthrow. It's satire, you see. To your disappointment, there aren't any full-color pictures to direct your attention. Just column after column of closely set text, interrupted occasionally by little doodles in black and white. No advertisements, you notice. So who's funding this radical commentary? After rifling the pages with your thumb several times, you return to the table of contents. The magazine is divided into several sections: international developments, Kunst und Kultur, and local concerns. Just inside the cover, there's also an editor's note. Comrade, as you know, this journal takes its name from Mazov's immortal expression, Du Cristal à la fumée. This was his way of describing the way the rigid, crystalline structures of capitalist ideology turned to smoke under communism. But, like the structures of capitalist ideology, we too are at risk of going à la fumée, unlike many publications which are content to spoon-feed their readers reassuring drivel. La Fumée is committed to telling the radical truth, even when that truth may drive away potential subscribers. Perhaps they've overestimated the market demand for this kind of commentary. So please, if you value our radical Mazovian perspective on contemporary politics, culture, and international affairs, please consider subscribing today. Yours in struggle, the editors. You flip back to the front of the magazine. The table of contents unfolds before you. This section includes a long, tedious critique of the latest round of free trade negotiations between the EPIS nations and the Free State of Semenine. You also skip over an article about heavy fuel oil smuggling along the Messina border, something about bear wrestling in Samara, book riots in Yugograd. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Bear wrestling. Flip back to that. It seems to be part of a new public fitness initiative in the People's Republic of Samara, SRV, devised and promoted by none other than President Kenejinsky himself. According to this extremely credulous account, Uncle Sport, as he's affectionately known to his people, has recently decreed bear wrestling the national sport of the SRV. Based on the description in this article, he appears to be an extremely competent and democratically elected president. Sapormat Sport Kenejinsky is well into his third decade as president of the SRV. Outside Samara, he's known for three things: brutal repression of internal dissent, monumental corruption, and a near pathological obsession with physical fitness. It's quite straightforward. A standard match features one man, or in some cases woman, against one bear. Two competitors, one ring, 5 rounds, or until incapacitation. According to the SRV's Ministry of Information, the program has been a tremendous success. Public support stands at 87%, and youth obesity and alcoholism rates are down 12% and 7% respectively. That's very much the idea. President Kaczynski has long maintained that a strong body is the best defense against capitalist aggression.
The Samaran People's Republic? No, I should expect not. Why do you ask? I suppose that would be something to see.
You flip back to the front of the magazine. The table of contents unfolds before you. It takes a moment, but gradually it dawns on you that Kunst und Kultur must mean arts and culture. As you leaf through this section, you come across several reviews of recent radio plays, as well as a brief artist spotlight featuring a local artist identified only as CS. The main feature, though, is a long essay titled Tip Top Tournée, a critical Mazovian perspective. The Tip Top Tournée is an inter-Isolari racing series, mostly known for its high speeds, ludicrous sponsorship deals, and high death toll. In Revachol, it's held quadrennially on the prestigious Zero Carousel racing circuit. This so-called artist spotlight is really just a brief Q&A, made all the briefer by the subject's evident hostility to her interviewer. You think you're settling in for a relaxing recap of the most recent season, maybe sprinkled with some nice anecdotes about a few of the more colorful drivers. Instead, you find yourself skimming a 10,000-word feature about all the politically problematic aspects of Tip Top Tournée. Where to even start? For one, there's the crass commercialism of its sponsorships, and then there's the practically criminal emphasis on deadly motor crashes. So, all of it, basically. Oddly enough, this article has two bylines, Nasteb Encolada Bernal and Exilus Buka. There's no way those are real names. Have you ever met anyone named Exilus? Come on, they're plainly pseudonyms. Under capitalism, the article says, every pursuit has its price. Every pleasure, even one as elemental as the joy of racing others around a track, is reduced to an advertising opportunity. Thus, the so-called tournée becomes a competition between increasingly meaningless brand signifiers, your discount laundry detergent racing against a pack of Astra cigarettes, or even a fritter. And that precisely is what's problematic about it. Were it not for the promise of random, spectacular violence, audiences would quickly lose interest. At the end of the day, it's the destruction of these 750,000 real racers that you're really watching for. see, one cannot avoid the conclusion that Tip Top Tourney is simply the apotheosis of spectacular entertainment under capitalism.
Ah, come on. Can this article read your mind? A certain kind of young man reads one or two books and suddenly thinks he understands the secret structures of reality. If I had to wager, I'd say they've never even seen the inside of a motor, much less a motor race. I take whatever they write with a large grain of salt.
You flip back to the front of the magazine. The table of contents unfolds before you. Unsurprisingly, much of this section is taken up with articles declaring unqualified support for the dock workers' strike. You skim the headlines. Paint the harbor red and white. Martinez tames the wild pines. A city in revolt. First we take Martinez, then we take La Delta. Finally, there's a brief article by the writer G. Martin accusing the owner of the Capeside apartments of illegally attempting to evict certain communist tenants simply for not having paid their rent. Ah, this must be Gaston's handiwork. According to these editorials, there can be no accommodation with the forces of international capital or their mucilaginous allies in the coalition. Why do communists love puerile insults? And they wonder why they're always being left out in the cold. Judging from the context, it's something very large and fundamental. You should probably know about it already, honestly. You flip back to the front of the magazine. The table of contents unfolds before you. It's getting cold, this late in the night. Time to call it a day.
Good night, officer. We'll meet in front of the shack in the morning.
Your race descent has temporarily halted, but you will fall again.